If you're ready to do it?
Yes. Hi, my name is Julia Piedmont and psychedelics saved my life. So today I would like to share a story with you that's been sitting on my heart for a while. And it's a story about how psychedelics helped me overcome a traumatic experience that I had because of sexual abuse in my childhood. So I'm going to go ahead and take you back a couple years ago when I first started to notice a change. I lived in Chicago with my daughter and everything seemed to be going great. I had met my husband and shortly after we got married and I was expecting a son and everything seemed great and we created this perfect little family. And early in the pregnancy, I was noticing that something was changing. And at first I didn't think much of it and I thought it's probably just the pregnancy hormones, causing me to feel very emotional. But after a while, I started to have memories that I had totally forgotten about in a way from my childhood. And in the pregnancy, those memories came back up in my head. And one of the memories I'm going to talk about next is when I was 14 years old and I was coming back from a school field trip. And the bus dropped everybody off in the parking lot and people were starting to spread out. Everybody was going home. And I started to get going on my own. And I was walking down this road and you can tell it was just one of those roads where there's not a lot of traffic. I didn't see any traffic signs or no cars, no houses. It was just fields and woods and forests all around. And I got walking and it wasn't really long until I noticed steps behind me and I turned around and I noticed that a man was walking behind me. And I remember I felt just a little weird, a little nervous, but didn't think much to it and I just continued to walk. And then I heard this man say, hold up a second, and he caught up with me and was walking next to me. And he started to talk to me and ask me all these questions, what my name was, where I was from, where I was heading to, and why I was walking out there by myself. And I would give him short and quick answers, hoping that he would leave me alone. And then all of a sudden I felt his hand just grab me onto the top of my arm. And he said to me, come with me. And I remember I was very scared. I didn't really know what was about to happen next, but I knew there was nothing really that I could have done to stop this. So I followed him and he dragged me into the woods and he pushed me against this tree and one of his hands went up my shirt and the other one went inside my pants. And what happened was he raped me there in the woods and I couldn't say anything. I couldn't scream. I just cried and I would just hope for this to be over with. And I was so scared. We've all seen these movies where things like this happen and it doesn't end well. I was convinced I was gonna die right there. I didn't think I'd survive this. I didn't know what he was gonna do next and how this would end. And I felt so helpless and it was disgusting. So after a while he backed off and left me alone by this tree. And I walked home telling myself that I would never speak a word about this. And I don't know why I was thinking this, I wasn't sure why I didn't feel like I had to tell anybody. But I just remember that I wanted this feeling just to be gone. I didn't want to speak. I didn't want to bring it up. I just didn't want to have to think about this ever again. So I didn't say. A couple weeks later, I was home in my room. And I spent the past weeks after this very isolated. I was a little bit rebellious and smoked a bunch of cigarettes and didn't really take care of myself the way I should have. And up in my room, I felt blood running down my legs. And without going more into detail on there, I just wanted to tell you that I experienced a miscarriage from that rape. So fast forward to me being pregnant with my son, these memories would just come back up, and I believe they came back up because of the similarities of the pregnancy and how I first felt when I was pregnant at the age of 14. And these memories just caused night terrors. I couldn't sleep. I had terrible nightmares that would keep me up at night. Didn't have energy to make it through the day. I spent a lot of time crying and confused, angry and scared. And I broke things, and I screamed, and I had meltdowns, and sometimes would cry for hours without knowing why. And when I just thought it couldn't get any worse, I had a cancer diagnosis for cervical cancer when I was 4 months pregnant at the time. And things were just miserable. So I convinced myself and my husband that certain things and changes that we may do can help the condition to get better. So I was telling myself, once our son gets here, things would get better. And our son got here and things wouldn't change. And I had the surgery for my cervical cancer, and I was declared cancer-free after, and things still didn't get any better. And I decided to take therapy, and I was convinced, therapy has to be the thing that helps, like that's gotta do something to me, and then that's gotta be it. And I started to have therapy sessions, and 5 months in, the therapist told me that, she didn't really know what to do anymore for me. So she suggested either for me to take antidepressants or go to a 10-week retreat in a mental institution to treat my condition. And both options were kind of out of the question. I didn't want to do the 10 weeks away from my children and my family. They were so little, I couldn't see myself being gone for this long to maybe just find out that it's just another thing that I did that didn't help. And the antidepressants I was against, just because I researched and saw that long term they can have negative effects and can numb people out, and you can't really feel emotions or feel ever happy. So I was skeptical with these two options I was left with, and my husband told me, let's do some research and we look into other options. And we stumbled across an article that reminded my husband about a book that I got him just a couple months earlier. And he suggested for me to take psychedelics. And at first I thought it was a crazy idea because, I knew psychedelics as a party drug, and it kind of has a bad name to it. And I didn't really want it to have anything to do. But, he found out that psychedelics can be used to treat conditions such as depression, anxiety, panic attacks, trauma, sometimes addiction. So we informed us a little bit better, and I decided to take 10 grams of psilocybin on March 10th, 2017. You know, I thought, what's to lose anyway? If this doesn't work, I still have these two options that my therapist left me with. So when my husband went to get the mushrooms, I set up the house really nice. I had dim lights and water ready, and I made it very cozy and warm and comfy. And after 30 minutes of taking the truffles, I started to notice a slight change. So in the beginning, it was a little laughable almost. It was funny in a way. I saw little fairies, and then they kissed my nose, and I saw Pinocchio walking by, and I had all sorts of hallucinations. So it was pretty entertaining at first, and then about half an hour in, I noticed that things became a little bit more serious. And I had visions of two female hands reaching inside my belly, and out came just a blue little ball of light. And immediately I knew that this little blue light was the miscarried baby that I had at the age of 14. And these hands transported this light ball up to a place, and my mind just followed along, and this light bulb started to speak to me and said, you know, this is what's supposed to happen. I was meant to be a little angel, and I'm going to watch over you. And I remember feeling so safe and so protected and so calm, like I have not felt for these past months. And that changed my life. You know, rather than somebody else telling me it's all okay, I felt and believed within that things were just all right. And coming out of this trip, I remember I was bawling my eyes out, and I felt so relieved. And the first big change that I noticed was that my night terrors were gone. I have never had a nightmare ever since. And I'm incredibly thankful for that. It gave me energy to make it through the day. And it's not like, you know, it's not like you swallow some mushrooms and things are magically better. You know, I still find it difficult at times. I still cry sometimes. I get angry. Sometimes I still break things. But it's a lot easier than it used to be. And I find more joy in things, and I can go out and I can feel good about myself. I'm not ashamed of what happened anymore, and things are all right. So the reason I want to share this video is because I want to tell people about the beneficial use of psychedelic drugs. And I was at the end of my rope, and psychedelics saved my life. And I don't want people to lose theirs just because they don't know this information and they don't know about the valid option on psychedelic drugs. So please, if you know anybody who could benefit from this video or this information, please share. If you have any questions, reach out to me and my husband. We're more than willing to answer any sorts of questions you may have. And I want to thank you so much for taking your time to watch this video.